Hello, brothers and sisters. This is Lisa, and I'm here to share some devotionals with all of you. The first one is titled God's Educational Plan. Woe unto them that join house to house, that lay field to field, till there be no place, that they may be placed alone in the midst of the earth. Isaiah 5, verse 8. The system of education established in Eden centered in the family. Adam was the Son of God, Luke 3, verse 38, and it was from their Father that the children of the Highest received instruction. Theirs, in the truest sense, was a family school. In the divine plan of education as adapted to man's condition after the fall, Christ stands as the representative of the Father, the connecting link between God and man. He is the great teacher of mankind, and he ordained that men and women should be his representatives. The family was the school, and the parents were the teachers. The education centering in the family was that which prevailed in the days of the patriarchs. For the schools thus established, God provided the conditions most favorable for the development of character. The people who were under his direction still pursued the plan of life that he had appointed in the beginning. Those who departed from God built for themselves cities, and congregating in them, gloried in the splendor, the luxury, and the vice that make the cities of today the world's pride and its curse. But the men who held fast God's principles of life dwelt among the fields and hills. They were tillers of the soil and keepers of flocks and herds, and in this free, independent life, with its opportunities for labor and study and meditation, they learned of God and taught their children of His works and ways. This was the method of education that God desired to establish in Israel. But when brought out of Egypt, there were among the Israelites few prepared to be workers together with Him in the training of their children. The parents themselves needed instruction and discipline. Victims of lifelong slavery, they were ignorant, untrained, degraded. They had little knowledge of God and little faith in Him. They were confused by false teaching and corrupted by their long contact with heathenism. God desired to lift them to a higher moral level, and to this end, He sought to give them a knowledge of Himself. And that's the end of the first devotional. And the next one is titled True Education. For the Lord giveth wisdom, out of his mouth cometh knowledge and understanding. Proverbs 2, verse 6. Our ideas of education take too narrow and too low a range. There is need of a broader scope, a higher aim. True education means more than the pursual of a certain course of study. It means more than a preparation for the life that now is. It has to do with the whole being and with the whole period of existence possible to man. It is the harmonious development of the physical, the mental, and the spiritual powers. It prepares the student for the joy of service in this world and for the higher joy of wider service in the world to come. The source of such an education is brought to view in these words of Holy Writ, pointing to the Infinite One. In Him are hid all the treasures of wisdom. Colossians 2, verse 3. He hath counsel and understanding. Job 12, verse 13. The world has had its great teachers, men of giant intellect and extensive research, men whose utterances have stimulated thought and opened to view vast fields of knowledge, and these men have been honored as guides and benefactors of their race. but there is one who stands higher than they. We can trace the line of the world's teachers as far back as human records extend, but the light was before them. As the moon and the stars of our solar system shine by the reflected light of the sun, so, as far as their teaching is true, do the world's great thinkers reflect the rays of the Sun of Righteousness. Every gleam of thought, every flash of the intellect is from the light of the world. And that's the end of the second devotional. And the last one is titled, Think on These Things. Finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, think on these things. Philippians 4 verse 8. John says, I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people. And God himself shall be with them, and be their God. This is glad news to all who love God, but is it a matter of rejoicing to those who delight in feeding the mind on commonplace and trivial things? Those who take no pleasure in thinking and talking of God in this life will not enjoy the life that is to come, where God is ever present, dwelling among his people. But those who love to think of God will be in their element, breathing in the atmosphere of heaven. Those who on earth love the thought of heaven will be happy in its holy associations and pleasures. The prophet says, And God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow, nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away, and there shall be no more curse, but the throne of God and of the Lamb shall be in it, and his servants shall serve him, and they shall see his face, and his name shall be in their foreheads. Those who love God will have an intelligent knowledge of him. The image of God will shine forth from the faces of his servants, and they will be openly acknowledged as sons and daughters of God. When in the world, they did not claim to be their own, and God set to his seal that they were his. Heaven will be for those who desire it with intense desire, who put forth efforts in proportion to the value of the object which they seek. The thoughts of those who will obtain heaven will be upon heavenly things, but those who are all taken up with the excitement and pleasures of this world will have no love whatever of God, for God or heaven. Superficial minds and carnal hearts love the things that are earthly, sensual, and devilish. We should be careful as to what kind of a record passes up to heaven concerning our daily life, for God is no respecter of persons, but will render to every man according to his works. The judge of all the earth will try every man's case. You may deceive human eyes. In the courts of justice on earth, justice is not always done. The innocent often suffer. The guilty are often set free for lack of proper evidence. But there will be no lack of evidence in the court of heaven, The deeds of men, with every concealed motive, will be revealed. The eyes of the Lord run to and fro over the whole earth. He who has offered salvation to the sinner will one day judge the thoughts and deeds of all who stand before him. He who died that man might become a partaker of the divine nature will one day acquit or condemn him before the Father and the holy angels. Gold and silver will not be a sufficient ransom in that day. Nothing but the merits of the blood of Christ will suffice to wash out the guilty stains from the hearts of men. And that is the end of these devotionals. I pray you all have a beautiful day in the Lord. God bless each and every one of you, and I will see you either next video or in the air. Bye-bye.